All right, we got it. Here we go. Y'all gonna join me on the chorus, okay? Here we go. Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain. We all have sorrow. But if we are wise.
I'm one of the coordinators for the Illinois Poor People's Campaign.
And it's a national campaign.
It is a national campaign.
And what are its goals?
The goals are to end poverty and to really address the moral aspect of poverty and racism, ecological devastation, and militarism in our society, especially in the United States.
And so Lutheran an organizer with Open Communities. Thank you for Pastor Dan for inviting me. I'm so honored for that opportunity to express myself here with you. We are not going to change any policy unless we all came together. We need to organize intentionally. That's what Reverend Barberin's been saying and telling us. We need to build intentional relations across communities. The Native American, the Black, the LGBTQ, the brown, the immigrant. We need to embrace our differences and recognize that our differences are going to make us stronger. Our understanding of each other, our passion for justice, our hope and faith will keep us together and united. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "We may have all come on different ships, but we are in the same boat now." Our stories may differ from each other, but we share experiences of oppression, injustice, poverty, and racism. We need people who stand up with this moment, and we have to organize and come together as one strong community, unified by love. Love for ourselves, our families, our neighbors, our communities, our cities, our state, our country. We need to start here. We need to start now. Amen. Make a commitment to become a bridge builder across all these differences. Please make a commitment to sign up with the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival. And march with us in these 40 days that come soon, very soon, May 13th. Thank you.
I'm from Opal, which is an organization for positive action and leadership. And we work to, remedy or correct the racial inequities here in Evanston. Most of our work is around the school district, the pipeline to prison, and the achievement gap, and so on and so forth. But I was asked to speak about the Poor People's Campaign and how it deals with racism. And so if you've talked to me for more than a minute, you know that I can talk all day about racism. So for me, the Poor People's Campaign is a great culmination of things I care about, right? People who are the injustices for poverty, for race, for class. And I know, Dr. King, right before he died, wrote about this and talked a lot about it. And unfortunately, we don't really highlight it here in America as much as we do the I Have a Dream. We're all the same, and let's come together and hold hands. But he knew that all that was not going to be possible without really looking at some systemic injustices that we face. And we still face those now, and I'm reminded, particularly in Chicago, about Fred Hampton, who spoke about the same things in a very radical way that people didn't always like. So I'm super excited to be involved with this because I like to speak about things in a way that people might not like either. but particularly about race, because here in Evanston, or maybe even on the north side, we don't really talk about that. We have started talking about it in very polite conversations that maybe you're comfortable, but everybody can be comfortable for 30, 40 minutes, then go home and get their latte and go back to their world. And here we talk about living here for diversity and all these great things, and we have wards that are 97% white. But those schools are 25% black because we put the black kids on the bus. So, we have a lot of issues here we don't really talk about. We're starting to get there. I am not one who's by nature very hopeful. I'm trying to be. But race is a big issue. If we look at arrest, we just released our arrest records in the city. We have 18% African American people in town, 85% African American arrests. I mean, that we don't even have that many people in Evanston who are black. So, I mean, it's a huge issue. This, hopefully in Evanston, will help us look at race and class and different ways in which we discriminate, and just be honest about where we are. We have to be honest about where we are to get where we're trying to go. So I am very hopeful that this campaign, we can join forces. Even, the Poor People's Campaign, we all care about poor people, I hope. So I hope we can at least join forces there in all of our differences and get to the next level together. We look at all the things going on around the country. We don't have much more time. We don't have much more time to not talk about the things that are uncomfortable, to not talk about the things we don't understand, the differences. I have a lot of differences from a lot of people, and I don't have to agree with you, but I have to respect your difference and respect your life experience. And I find that as a woman of color here in Evanston, that's difficult, because a lot of women, particularly who I talk to most, they listen and they say, oh, that's too bad. But they don't feel it like I do because they're not people of color. And even sometimes it's like, tell me more. And I leave the conversation, I'm so exhausted. I have spilled my soul, and I know that they're gonna go out and have a different experience, even very well-meaning people, but they just don't have the same experience. And it's hard, it becomes so exhausting. So my personal quest here is that I can work with the campaign to move the agenda of injustice here in Evanston, down in Springfield, but that also I can just help us to get past the point of this fallacy that we have about ourselves. And we can all kind of take some personal inventory, even people of color, of where we are different and how that's great for our city, but where we need to go. And it can't just be this 20-minute tough conversation maybe at the Y or somewhere else. It's really got to be deeper if we're going to make a different city here in Evanston. And so hopefully Pastor Ruin and other folks can help lead us there through this national movement, but we don't leave it there wherever we go with our days of disruption. We actually keep it going here in Evanston in a really, really meaningful way. So thank you all for coming, and make sure you sign up.
Pastor Dan asked me to speak about poverty this evening. Most of you know Family Promise is a family homeless shelter operating out of Evanston. Some people who are new to learn that we have a shelter in Evanston. Yes, we do. And it serves families with young children. Majority of the families that we get calls from are living in poverty. Today, the village of Skokie called me. They have a family of 4, 2 parents and 2 children under 5, sleeping in their car. And they found out about this family because someone saw them and complained to the city of Skokie that this family is sleeping in their car in a parking lot. How is it? In one of the wealthiest communities in the country, we have families, not individuals, we have families with young children sleeping in a car. So what can we do? Dr. King made the call decades ago of us to rally, to come together to support and serve. I come across a lot of families who are living in poverty. Their children are enrolled in Evanston schools. They want the support, they want the help, they want to do better, they want to live better. But we have so many rules and policies and things in place that hold them down. That ain't right. That ain't right. So we can come together, we can make sure that we've signed up to support and help and bring other families out of poverty and help them to get back on their feet. We have families who they can work, they can get a job, and they want to work, but they have young children, so they need child care. In one of the cities that the child care is the most expensive. So we have, state funds to help them pay for child care? But you can't use the state funds if you don't have a job, but I can't go get a job if I don't have child care. That ain't right. That ain't right. And so I hope everybody has signed up that we can rally together to help to end poverty for people in Evanston and in our country. So and it's everybody. It's black people, brown people, white people, that we come together, we support each other, we're rallying. This room should be standing room only with people lined up outside to try to get in here. So we will continue to rally together to bring other people along, to get other people involved and signed up to help support this mission, this initiative, this rally to get people to come together to support, to help bring people out of poverty. Thank you very much for listening.
As she said, my name is Dorothy Head, a longtime resident of the 5th Ward of Evanston. I became involved in the environmental justice issues in 2010 because of the waste transfer station and the negative impact it was and is having on our community. It is located only 4 blocks from the only public high school in Evanston, a few feet from a major park where our kids play various sports, and homes are so close to it until some people whose homes are located on the northwest side could actually see over in the yard of the facility from the second floor windows. I became involved because of the negative impact and because I found out that businesses such as these are routinely located in minority and low-income neighborhoods because no one else would have them. That had gone on for so long, and to tell you the truth, it still goes on. And was so pervasive until in 1994, President Clinton signed Executive Order 12898 into law. It is called Federal Actions to Address Environmental Justice in Minority and Low-Income Populations. A group of neighbors and I got together to see what could be done about this waste transfer station. We formed an organization called Evanston Neighbors United. We worked tirelessly trying to educate the people in the community about it, trying to get their support to put pressure on the waste transfer station to relocate. Some people supported us, but most did not, afraid that the waste transfer station, if it was located, would put a lot of people out of work, not knowing that only a handful of people still work there, and most of the jobs had been replaced by modern technology. We had to change our focus, so we changed our name to Social Justice, then later to Environmental Justice Evanston. Many of the original group moved on for various reasons. However, others have joined and taken on the task of writing an environmental justice policy that will be beneficial for all, regardless of their race, where they live, or their station in life. We can use your help. Thank you.
At a time when many people, many organizations, and many houses of worship are being singled out for their participation in the resistance, in any form of resistance. At a time when the wide and deep chasm between the wealthy and poor is growing much, much whiter and wider, and much, much deeper. At a time when arrogance and greed are by far trumping mercy and compassion. At a time when the criminalization of poverty and racially biased sentencing have increased the prison population 8-fold since 1968.
That ain't right.
With blacks making up an egregious and disproportionate amount of the inmates. At a time when 23 of our 50 states in this more perfect union have adopted and legalized voter suppression laws since 2010. At a time when 60% more Americans presently live in poverty than they did 50 years ago. At a time when the top 1% share of national income nearly doubled in the last 50 years. At a time when masses of our children in high school around this nation no longer view attending college and receiving a college degree as a viable option, At a time when our public schools are being eviscerated, our union participation has dropped to a precipitous low. Our elected officials have chosen the path of self-preservation rather than demonstrating compassionate leadership and dedication to justice. It is at such a time as this, on this Thursday night, that we rise to say no more.
No more. No more.
Evanston is gathered tonight as a visual and vocal show of support for the Poor People's Campaign. In a recent article just last month in the Washington Post, columnist Cortland Miller titled a work, "A New Poor People's Campaign, but the Same Old Obstacles."
All right now.
In his brief summary, he asked, how can the campaign expect to tackle racism and poverty when the nation's economic and political systems are rooted in racism and designed to favor the wealthy over the poor? If I had the opportunity, I would have responded to Miller's relevant question with an Old Testament passage from Zechariah, who wrote, do not oppress the widow or the fatherless or the foreigner or the poor. I would have moved over to Isaiah and quoted that prophet, woe to those who make unjust laws,
Whoa.
to those who issue oppressive decrees, to deprive the poor of their rights and to withhold justice from the oppressed. I would have moved over to the New Testament and reminded him of Jesus' words, I was naked and you clothed me, hungry and you fed me, sick and in prison and you came to see about me. And I surely would have mentioned, though some would disagree, that little letter titled James when he said, listen, rich people, weep and howl because of the misery that is surely coming your way.
Whoa.
I didn't say it. I'm just quoting. We are here tonight and there are Poor People's Campaign rallies happening throughout our nation. And we're here to do, I think, at least three things: educate, empower, and eliminate. We're educating one another through these incredible words that have been shared by our speakers tonight. We're learning together that the old adage, the poor you will have with you always, is one of the most misinterpreted texts in the entire Bible. From Genesis to Revelation, there is the common refrain that holy people help people. Yes. Holy people heal people. Yes. Holy people offer hope to people. And if we're not holy, then people of goodwill work with people, walk with people, and wield all that is within their disposal to improve the lives of others around them. But we have arrived at a time in history, Evanston, on this Thursday night when we can no longer believe that simply finding a job for someone is sufficient, or finding a place to live for someone is satisfactory, or helping someone to go to college and earn a degree is enough. It's not enough anymore. Not when the very same system of oppression will go on to oppress the next person and the next generation. To engage in this Poor People's Campaign is not one of those, I did my part, now I can pat myself on the back, go home, turn on my 9 o'clock television show, and ease my guilty conscience into anonymity with a nice glass of Cabernet. It's not that kind of party. This is not one of those I'll write a check moments. This is a request for you to lend to us not only your ears, but your heart and your mind and your time and your service and your talent. And if we're going to make a liar out of Miller and to say that there is no way that this is exactly the same, it's not going to happen in Springfield. It's not going to happen in Washington, D.C. For that matter, it's not going to happen in Geneva, the international headquarters of the United Nations. But it's going to happen in a very small place like Evanston, where a few people decided on one Thursday night to gather together beyond our race, beyond our ethnicity, beyond our denomination, beyond our religion, beyond our attitude about this issue or that issue, and to say we must fight for our nation, for every single person that is a resident in this place. Because what we have in common outnumbers those things that we don't have in common. My brother and my sister are not just Christians, but they are Jews and Muslims and people with no religion. My brother and my sister are not just those who are heterosexual, but those who are very much a part of the LGBTQ community. My brother and sister are not just those who are at this level of the economic platter, but they are those who are poor, those who are homeless, those who are hurting. I cannot be everything that God intended for me to be unless you are everything that God intended for you to be. With that in mind, when the last song is given and when the benediction is over, I encourage you, when you go home, make sure that when you get home, you will be a different person. That's right. Than the person who left that home. Yes. Don't just open up your ears to hear another way, but open up your heart and your door. Yes. And your wallet to make a better way for everyone else. God bless you.
This is a prayer for the ones who lose their homes to predators, who lose their pensions and health care while the wealthy grow wealthy. This is a prayer for the ones who stand on street corners, who live in tent encampments next to luxury condos that soar into the sky. This is a prayer for the immigrants who fear every knock on the door, every cop that pulls them over, every job application they are handed, yet never give up on the dream of a better future for themselves and their families. Pavement. Let us live to see new life spreading through abandoned streets and neighborhoods and cities and nations. Yes, let it be so, and let us say, Amen.
I am extremely happy about this turnout. The reason being is that Pastor Dan has worked with a team of people that came together in small numbers, and every time he brings people together for a rally or a meeting, the numbers get bigger. It continues to grow. So yes, I'm incredibly happy.
And tell me more.
I work on it from a personal as well as a part of this campaign. My son and only child was murdered, so I'll be doing this until I join him. We have got to stop gun violence, whether it be initiated through police brutality, and as in the case with the young boy that got killed in San Antonio this week, or crimes that our kids might commit on one another, and a lot of that leads back to poverty.
Why are you working on this campaign?
I am thrilled to be able to say that I stand on the shoulders of the people that came before us, and that I'm sorry to say that we continue to have to deal with the issues that they did, the generations before us, but I am grateful for all their hard work. And to me, this just is an opportunity to bring forward all their good work and to remind people that amazing things can happen when we join together, especially together with people who are affected by policies that are so long-standing that a lot of people find a way to ignore them. So this is a way to raise awareness, to join together, to put our bodies out there with all the different forms of direct action that will happen starting in mid-May through the end of June. And I can't think of a better way than to have the bookends of Mother's Day and the summer solstice to be the critical time where we're going to launch a movement that will be a multi-year movement to really address these systemic evils in our society, because that's the only way we'll be able to.
My name is Selena Varela, and I work at Reba Place Church with children and youth. I just recently joined the leadership team for the North Poor People's Campaign in Evanston and North. So I just want to say you can sign up online to join in any action of civil disobedience that will be happening after Mother's Day. And you can also volunteer with any of our regional teams. We need people to help with labor outreach. We need people to help follow up with people who sign up. We need people to help with art and dance and music and all of those things. So if you're interested, you can visit the Poor People's Campaign website and sign up.
Lean on me when you're not strong. Oh, y'all can sing. And I'll be your friend. And I'll help you carry on. For it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride if you have things that you need to borrow. Just call Dr. Neighbor. For no one can feel those of your needs. They won't let you show. You just call on